Nobody clapped when the humans stepped off the shuttle. The landing platform of the Galactic Unity Academy stretched wide under three pale suns. Cadets from 12 star systems had gathered to welcome the new arrivals. They cheered for the Dracnoth warriors in their natural bone armor. They whistled for the four-armed Solari fighters who moved like water, given form. They stomped their feet for the massive Gorvathi whose footsteps shook the metal beneath them. Then came Nadia Okonkwo, and the crowd went silent. She stood 5 feet 6 inches tall. Her skin was dark brown, her hair cut short against her skull. She wore no armor because humans grew none. She carried no visible weapons because humans were born with only soft hands and flat teeth. Compared to the giants around her, she looked like something that had wandered in by mistake. A young Dracnoth near the front laughed first. Then others joined. The sound rolled across the platform like thunder. Nadia picked up her single bag and walked through the crowd without looking at any of them. Commandant Vorith watched from the administration tower above. He was old for a Dracnoth, his scales faded to gray, but his eyes missed nothing. He had received the orders from Galactic Command himself. The humans wanted to join the Academy. For the sake of diplomatic relations, he had been told to accept 1.1 human. 1 year. Then they could all pretend they had tried. Put her in Barracks 7, he told his assistant. The assistant hesitated. Sir, that is where we house cadets who are expected to fail. I know. Nadia found Barracks 7 at the far edge of the Academy grounds. The building was old and poorly maintained. Inside, she discovered her roommate already waiting. The Solari female had 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with her mood. Right now, it was a skeptical orange. She sat on one of the 2 beds, all 4 hands busy cleaning a practice blade. I am Tira, she said. You are the human. Nadia, I know your name. Everyone knows your name. You are famous now. Tira's skin flickered toward an amused yellow. Famous for being the weakest cadet in Academy history. Nadia set her bag on the empty bed. Is that what they say? That is what your assessment scores say. I saw them posted in the dining hall. Someone thought it would be funny. Tira tilted her head. You have the lowest strength rating ever recorded. Lower than the Fenari, and they're basically flying insects. I see. You do not seem upset. Nadia began unpacking her few belongings. Should I be? Most beings would be. Most beings would not have come here at all. Tira set down her blade. Why did you come, human? This is a military academy. We train warriors here. Your species has only been in space for 200 years. You have fought no wars beyond your own world. What made you think you belonged here? Nadia stopped unpacking. She turned to look at Tira, and something in her eyes made the Solari's skin flicker briefly toward an uncertain gray. I came here, Nadia said quietly, because someone told me I could not. The orientation ceremony took place in the Great Hall that evening. Hundreds of cadets stood in formation while Commandant Vorith addressed them from a raised platform. He spoke of duty. He spoke of sacrifice. He spoke of the proud traditions of the Academy. Then his gaze found Nadia in the crowd, and he paused. This year, he said, we have accepted a human into our ranks. This is an experiment. I want to be clear about that. Humans are new to the galactic community. They come from a small world at the edge of mapped space. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom, no speed. What they do have is curiosity and stubbornness. Whether these qualities make a warrior remains to be seen. Nadia felt every eye turned toward her. She kept her face still. After the ceremony, a massive Dracnoth blocked her path. His name was Grath, and he was nearly 8 feet tall. His scales were deep green, and his claws could cut through steel. Human, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I have a question. Nadia looked up at him. Ask it. When your bones break in training tomorrow, will they make a sound? I have heard human bones are hollow like a bird's. Laughter erupted around them. Our bones are not hollow, Nadia said. No. Grath leaned down until his face was inches from hers. Then perhaps I will find out for myself. I think I will call you Glassbones from now on. It suits you. He walked away, his followers trailing behind him. Tira appeared at Nadia's side. You should request a transfer. Or better, go home. Grath has killed cadets in training before. They call it accidents, but everyone knows. I'm not going anywhere. Why? What do you have to prove? Nadia did not answer. She walked back to Barracks 7 alone. That night, Tira woke to strange sounds. She opened her eyes and saw Nadia on the floor of their room. The human was holding herself in a position that should have been impossible. Her arms trembled. Sweat ran down her face. But she did not stop. Tira watched in silence as Nadia moved through exercises that seemed designed to cause pain. She held each position until her muscles shook, then held longer. "What are you doing?" Tira finally asked. Nadia looked up. Her eyes were calm despite the strain. "On Earth," she said, "we learn to survive before we learn to fight." She returned to her exercises. Tira lay awake for a long time after, watching, wondering what kind of world produced beings who trained like they were punishing themselves. Outside, the three suns began to rise. Nadia's first real day at the academy was about to begin, and she was ready for them to underestimate her again. The training deck smelled like sweat and feared. It was a massive arena built into the heart of the academy. The floor could shift and change. The gravity could increase or decrease. The walls could produce weapons, obstacles, or enemies made of hard light. Generations of warriors had bled on this deck, and the metal had absorbed so much violence that it seemed almost alive. Nadia stood at the edge with the other first-year cadets. This was their first sparring assessment. The instructors would pair them up, watch them fight, and record their abilities. It was supposed to be a simple evaluation. Supposed to be. Instructor Doran called out the pairings. He was a veteran soldier, covered in scars that told stories of battles across a dozen worlds. When he reached Nadia's name, he paused. "Nadia Okonkwo," he read from his list. "Pair with Grath." A murmur ran through the crowd. Tira, standing nearby, made a sound of protest. "That pairing is unfair. Grath is twice her size." Doran's expression was unreadable. The pairings were determined by Commandant Vorith himself. "I do not question his decisions." Grath stepped forward with a smile that showed all his teeth. "This will be quick. I promise not to break too many of her bones." His followers laughed. One of them, a Drakenoth with red scales, called out loudly. "I bet 5 credits Grath wins in under 5 seconds." "I bet 10 he does it in 3, another replied. "I bet he does not even need to use his claws." The betting spread through the crowd. No one bet on Nadia. She walked to the center of the deck and faced Grath. He towered over her, a mountain of muscle and natural armor. His claws were retracted for the match, as rules demanded, but even his bare hands could crush stone. "Any last words, Glassbones?" he asked. "No." Doran raised his hand. "Begin." Grath charged. He moved fast for his size, crossing the distance between them in less than a second. His fist swung toward Nadia's head with enough force to shatter concrete. She was not there. Nadia moved sideways, just enough to let his fist pass by her ear. Grath stumbled, surprised. He turned and attacked again, and again, and again. Each time, Nadia simply was not where his attacks landed. She did not fight back. She did not try to hurt him. She only moved, flowing around his strikes like smoke around stone. The crowd grew quiet. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Then 3. Grath was breathing hard now. Drakenoth were powerful, but they were not built for extended combat. Their muscles burned hot and tired quickly. Nadia, meanwhile, had barely increased her breathing. "Stand still," Grath snarled. "Fight me." "I'm fighting you," Nadia said calmly. "I'm fighting you my way." Doran called time. "The match is over. Result draw. Draw." Grath roared. "I did not lose to a human. You did not win either." Doran made a note on his tablet. Neither combatant scored a hit. By the rules, it is a draw. Next pairing. Grath stood trembling with rage as Nadia walked past him. She had almost reached the edge of the deck when he moved. His arms swung out, catching her across the back. The blow sent her flying into the arena wall. Something cracked. Nadia slid to the ground and did not move. "Accident," Grath said loudly. "I slipped." No one challenged him. The instructors looked away. The other cadets said nothing. Tira ran to Nadia's side. The human was conscious but pale with pain. Blood trickled from her mouth. "Medical team," Doran called, his voice flat. "We have an injury." They took Nadia to the medical bay. The healer on duty was an old Drakenoth named Sereth. She had seen more broken bodies than she could count. When she scanned Nadia, she expected to find shattered bones and torn organs. What she found made her pause. 3 fractured ribs, she announced. Bruised kidney. Minor internal bleeding. She looked at Nadia with new curiosity. "You should not be conscious with these injuries. The pain alone should have rendered you unconscious." "I have felt worse," Nadia said through gritted teeth. "Worse than this? I grew up in Lagos. On Earth, we learn to handle pain early." Sereth began the healing process, her instruments knitting bone and tissue back together. As she worked, she noticed something strange in the scans. "Your bones," she said. "They have been broken before. Many times. Yes, but they healed stronger at the breakpoints. Much stronger." Sereth looked up. "Human bones do this? They strengthen where they break." "Yes, is how we are built." Sereth was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Interesting." Tira stayed at Nadia's bedside until she was allowed to leave. As they walked back to Barracks 7, she finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind. "Why did you not fight back? You could have. I saw how you moved. You could have hurt him." Nadia stopped walking. In the light of the 3 setting suns, her face was hard to read. "Because I was not angry enough yet," she said. "And when I get angry enough, I need to be sure. I need to know that what I do next is the right thing. Because once I start, I do not know if I can stop." Tira felt a chill run down her spine. "What does that mean?" Nadia started walking again. "It means I'm still waiting. But I will not wait forever." Back in his private quarters, Commandant Vorith watched the recording of the match. He watched it 3 times. He slowed it down and studied Nadia's movements, her breathing, her eyes in all his years, he had never seen anyone move quite like that. It was not skill exactly. It was something else, something older, something that whispered of a species that had survived on a world determined to kill them. He paused the recording on a single frame. Nadia's face in the moment after Grath's unfair blow. She was in pain. She was bleeding. But her eyes held no defeat. They held something that looked almost like patience. And for the first time, Commandant Vorith felt a small seed of doubt plant itself in his mind. 3 weeks changed nothing and everything. Nadia still had the lowest combat scores in the academy. She still lived in Barracks 7. She still walked the halls alone while other cadets whispered and laughed behind her back. But she had not missed a single training session. Not one. Even when her body was bruised and her ribs still ached from healing, she showed up. The instructors did not know what to make of her. Neither did the other cadets. Today was different. Today was classroom instruction. The lecture hall was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising in circles around a central platform. A Solari instructor named Feneth stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays. The topic of the day was species combat advantages. Every species in the galactic community evolved to survive their home world, Feneth began. This evolution gave each species natural advantages in combat. Today we will review these advantages so you may better understand your allies and your enemies. The first display showed a Drakenoth warrior. Drakenoth, Feneth said, natural bone armor capable of stopping standard projectiles. Claws that can cut through steel. Muscle density 3 times that of most species. Weakness, endurance. Drakenoth burn energy quickly and tire after extended combat. The display changed to show a Solari. My own people. For arms allowing for multiple simultaneous attacks. Color-shifting skin for camouflage. Flexibility that allows us to bend in ways that break the bones of other species. Weakness. We are not strong. A direct hit from a Drakenoth would kill most of us instantly. Species after species appeared on the display. Each had clear strengths. Each had clear weaknesses. Each had a place in the galactic order. Then the display showed a human. The image was almost comical. A small, soft creature with no claws, no armor, no venom, no extra limbs. Just smooth skin and flat teeth and 2 simple hands. Beneath the image, the text read, classification, pending. No observable advantages. Grath laughed loudly from his seat near the top of the hall. No observable advantages. That is the polite way of saying useless. More laughter followed. Finnith did not stop it. Nadia raised her hand. Finnith looked surprised. You have a question, Cadet Okonkwo? Yes. Nadia stood up. Has anyone in this room studied what humans call adrenaline? Finnith tilted her head. I have reviewed some human biological data. Adrenaline is a stress hormone. It provides a minor boost to speed and strength in dangerous situations. Many species have similar responses. Minor boost, Nadia repeated. Is that what your data says? Yes. The effect is minimal and short-lived. It does not qualify as a combat advantage. Nadia sat back down. I see. Finnith moved on to the next topic. But Tira, sitting beside Nadia, noticed that the human was smiling slightly. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. That night, in Barrack 7, Tira could not hold back her curiosity any longer. What were you smiling about in class today? Nadia was sitting on her bed, stretching muscles that seemed to ache constantly. I was smiling because they do not understand. Understand what? What adrenaline really does. Nadia stopped stretching and turned to face Tira. On Earth, there's a phenomenon called hysterical strength. It happens when a human is in extreme danger or when someone they love is in danger. The adrenaline surge becomes so powerful that normal limits disappear. What do you mean limits disappear? I mean humans have lifted vehicles that weigh thousands of kilograms. They have broken through walls with their bare hands. They have run with broken legs and fought with wounds that should have killed them, all because their brain decided that stopping was not an option. Tira's skin shifted to a confused purple, but the data says the effect is minimal. The data was collected in control conditions, in laboratories, when humans are calm and safe. Nadia leaned forward. We have never shown the galaxy what we can do when we are not calm, when we are not safe, when someone we love is threatened. Why not? Because we had to learn to control it. On Earth, humans with uncontrolled adrenaline responses were dangerous. They hurt themselves. They hurt others. We learned to keep it buried, to only release it when absolutely necessary. Nadia's eyes grew distant. My grandmother used to say that every human carries a monster inside them. The secret is not to kill the monster. The secret is to choose when to let it out. Tira was silent for a long moment. You are saying that humans have been hiding their true abilities this entire time? Not hiding, controlling. There is a difference. But why control it here? Why not show the Academy what you can really do? Nadia's expression hardened. Because once I let it out, I cannot take it back. Because people might get hurt. Because I need to be sure that when I finally stop controlling it, the thing I am protecting is worth the damage I will cause. Before Tira could respond, an announcement echoed through the barracks. Attention all first-year cadets. Report to the training deck at dawn for a surprise combat evaluation. Full contact. No restrictions. This is not a drill. Nadia stood up slowly. They are planning something. How do you know? Because Grath has been too quiet lately. And the announcement said no restrictions. She walked to the small window and looked out at the night sky. Someone wants to finish what Grath started 3 weeks ago. Then do not go. Report that you are sick. Nadia turned back to Tira. I have never run from anything in my life. I am not going to start now. You could die tomorrow. Everyone dies. Nadia returned to her bed and lay down, closing her eyes. But not everyone decides what they die for. Tomorrow, if I have to fight, it will be my choice. And I will choose when to stop being afraid. Tira did not sleep that night. She lay awake, watching Nadia's peaceful face, wondering what kind of world created beings who could sleep soundly before walking into a trap. And deep in the Academy's command center, Commandant Vorth signed off on the combat evaluation parameters. He told himself it was necessary. He told himself he needed to see what the human could really do. He did not tell himself that he was curious. He did not admit that he was almost afraid of the answer. Dawn came cold and gray over the Academy. The training deck had been reconfigured overnight. Walls had risen from the floor to create an urban combat zone. Multiple levels, narrow passages, dead ends, and blind corners. It was designed for hunting. Cadets gathered in the observation area above the arena. Instructors took their positions at monitoring stations. Commandant Vorith stood at the central platform, his ancient eyes watching everything. Instructor Doran read out the team assignments. Most were fair. 4 or 5 cadets per team, balanced by species and skill level. Standard evaluation format. Then he reached the final team. Team 7, he read. Grath, Renix, Torvak, Skellies, and Burn. He paused, his jaw tightening. Versus Nadia Okonkwo. Solo. Silence fell over the observation deck. Doran turned to Vorith. Sir, this cannot be correct. 5 against 1 is not an evaluation. It is an execution. Vorith did not look at him. War does not care about fairness, instructor. Neither does this academy. The assignment stands. Tira pushed through the crowd. This is wrong. You are sending her to die. I'm sending her to be evaluated. Vorith replied calmly. If she cannot survive against 5 opponents, she has no place in this academy. No place in any military force. He finally looked at Tira. You may watch. You may not interfere. Down on the deck, Nadia stood alone at the north entrance. Across the arena, through the maze of walls and platforms, 5 Drakenoth warriors waited at the south entrance. Grath stood at their center, his claws fully extended despite regulations against it. A voice echoed through the speakers. Combat evaluation begins in 10 seconds. Last team standing wins. All methods permitted. All methods permitted. No restrictions on force. No protection for the smaller combatant. Nadia closed her eyes and breathed. The buzzer sounded. She moved into the maze, her footsteps silent on the metal floor. Behind her, she heard the thunder of Drakenoth feet spreading out to hunt her. They were not trying to hide. They wanted her to hear them coming. The first attack came from above. Renix dropped from a platform, his claws aimed at her back. Nadia rolled sideways and kept running. The second attack came from a narrow passage. Torvak lunged at her with both arms. She ducked under his reach and slipped past him. They were hurting her. She realized it quickly. Every path she took led her closer to the center of the arena, closer to where Grath would be waiting. She could not run forever. They knew it. She knew in the observation deck. Tira watched with growing horror. She's not fighting back. Why is she not fighting back? Old Sereth, the healer, stood beside her. Perhaps she knows she cannot win. Perhaps she is simply trying to survive. You do not know her. She has a reason. She always has a reason. Below, the trap closed. Nadia burst into the central clearing and found Grath waiting with Skellies and Burn. Renix and Torvak appeared behind her, blocking her retreat. She was surrounded. Grath smiled. No more running, glass bones. No, Nadia agreed. No more running. Skellies attacked first. His fist caught Nadia in the shoulder, spinning her around. Burn followed with a kick that lifted her off her feet. She hit the ground hard, blood already flowing from her mouth. She got back up. They hit her again. And again. She fell each time. And each time, she stood back up in the observation deck. Cadets began looking away. The sound of fists hitting flesh echoed through the speakers. Some of the younger ones covered their ears, but Tira watched. And she noticed something. Nadia's breathing was changing. Her movements were shifting. The trembling in her hands had stopped completely. Something is happening, Tira whispered. Grath grabbed Nadia by the throat and lifted her off the ground. Stay down, he snarled. This is your last chance. Stay down, and I will let you live. Nadia looked at him. Blood ran down her face. Her body was broken in a dozen places. But her eyes were clear. Terrifyingly clear. On Earth, she said quietly, there is a word. Berserker. It means someone who has stopped being afraid of dying. Grath laughed. You should be afraid. No. Nadia's hand closed around his wrist. You should be. She squeezed. The sound of Drakenoth bone cracking echoed through the arena like a gunshot. Grath screamed and dropped her. He stumbled backward, staring at his arm. The armored plates around his wrist had shattered. Not just broken, shattered. By human hands, Nadia landed on her feet. Her wounds were still bleeding, but she moved like she could not feel them. Like pain had become meaningless, Burn charged at her. She stepped inside his reach, placed both hands against his chest, and pushed. He flew backward 10 feet and crashed through a wall. Skelly swung his claws at her head. She caught his arm at the elbow and twisted. The joint broke with a wet snap. He collapsed, screaming. Renix and Torvak attacked together. Nadia moved between them like a ghost, striking joints and pressure points that should have been protected by armor. They fell within seconds. Then she turned to Grath. He was backing away, cradling his broken wrist. "This is not possible. You are human. You are nothing." Nadia walked toward him slowly. "You wanted to know what human bones sounded like when they break. Let me show you what Drakenoth bones sound like." Grath threw a desperate punch. Nadia caught it with one hand. With the other, she struck the floor of the training deck. The metal split beneath her palm. Cracks spread outward like a spider web, tearing through the arena floor. Platforms collapsed. Walls fell. The entire center of the training deck buckled and broke apart. When the dust settled, Nadia stood in the middle of the destruction. 5 Drakenoth warriors lay groaning around her. The floor of the arena was split in half. She looked up at the observation deck. Her eyes found Commandant Vorith. "Is that enough of an evaluation?" she asked. Then her eyes rolled back. As she collapsed, in the silence that followed, no one moved. No one spoke. No one breathed. Tira was the first to break free of the shock. She ran for the stairs, desperate to reach her friend. Behind her, she heard old Sareth say softly to no one in particular, "So that is what humans have been hiding." And high above, Commandant Vorith stood frozen at his platform, staring at the broken arena below, wondering what he had just unleashed. Medical teams flooded the arena within seconds. They rushed past the groaning Drakenoth warriors, past the shattered platforms and broken walls, straight to the small human body lying in the center of the destruction. Nadia was not moving. Blood pooled beneath her. Her pulse was weak and getting weaker. Tira reached her first. She knelt beside Nadia, all 4 hands pressing against wounds that would not stop bleeding. "Do not die," she whispered. "You do not get to die. Not after that. Not after proving all of them wrong." The medical team pushed Tira aside and went to work. They loaded Nadia onto a stretcher and ran for the emergency bay. Tira followed, refusing to be left behind. Behind them, the academy fell into chaos. Within an hour, every instructor and senior officer had gathered in the command center. Commandant Vorith stood at the head of the table, watching the recording of the fight play on the main screen for the 5th time. "This is impossible," said Instructor Feneth, her skin shifting through confused colors. "No human should be capable of this. The data says their strength is minimal." The data was wrong. Doran's voice was flat, or incomplete, or both. "We should expel her," said a Gorvathi officer. "She is dangerous. She nearly killed 5 cadets. Those 5 cadets tried to kill her first." Doran pulled up additional footage. "Look at the team assignments. Look at who requested them. This was not an evaluation. This was planned murder approved by this academy." All eyes turned to Vorith. The old Drakenoth said nothing. His gaze remained fixed on the screen, on the moment when Nadia's fist split the training deck floor. "The human stays," he said finally. "Sir, she destroyed academy property. She injured 5 cadets severely. 5 cadets who violated combat rules by using claws in a restricted match. 5 cadets who coordinated an attack designed to kill. If anyone faces expulsion, it should be them." Vorith turned to face the room. "The human stays. This discussion is over." In the medical bay, Nadia floated between darkness and light. Old Sareth worked over her broken body, sealing wounds and knitting bones and pumping synthetic blood into her veins. It was delicate work. Humans healed differently than other species. Their bodies wanted to survive, even when survival should have been impossible. 3 shattered ribs, Sareth muttered to herself. Fractured arm, broken fingers, internal bleeding in 4 places, torn muscles throughout her body. She looked at the readings on her scanner, and yet her heart keeps beating. Her brain keeps working. Her body refuses to quit. Tira stood in the corner, watching. Will she live? She should not. Sareth adjusted her instruments. By every medical standard I know, She should have died 10 times over during that fight. The pain alone should have shut down her nervous system. The old healer shook her head slowly. But humans do not follow medical standards. They follow something else. What? I do not know. Stubbornness, perhaps. Or something deeper. Sareth looked at Tira. You care about her. She is my friend. She is more than that now. After today, she is a symbol. Everyone in this academy will know what she did. Some will hate her for it. Some will fear her. Some will respect her. Sareth returned to her work. The question is what she will do with that. 3 days later, Nadia opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Tira asleep in a chair beside her bed. All 4 of the Solari's arms were folded across her chest, and her skin had shifted to the pale blue of deep rest. Nadia tried to move and winced. Every part of her body screamed in protest. Do not try to get up. Tira's eyes snapped open instantly. You have been unconscious for 3 days. Your body is still healing. 3 days. Nadia's voice was rough. What happened? After I fell, Grath was expelled. So were 2 of his followers. The others face disciplinary action. Tira leaned forward. The footage of your fight has spread through the entire academy. Everyone has seen what you did. What I did. Nadia closed her eyes. I lost control. You survived. You won. Did I? Nadia opened her eyes again, and Tira saw something that surprised her. Shame. I told myself I would only let it out when I was protecting something important. But in that arena, I was not protecting anything. I was just angry. I was just tired of being hurt. She looked at her hands. That is not who I wanted to be. Before Tira could respond, a shadow fell across the doorway. Commandant Vorith stood at the entrance to the medical bay. He was alone, without guards or aides. He looked older than Tira remembered, as if the past 3 days had added years to his life. Leave us, he said to Tira. Tira hesitated, looking at Nadia. It is fine, Nadia said. Go. When they were alone, Vorith walked slowly to Nadia's bedside. For a long moment, he simply looked at her. Then he asked a question that had clearly been burning in his mind. How many of you are there? Humans who can do what you did. Nadia met his gaze steadily. All of us. All of you? Every human. Every human. We just need a reason. She shifted in her bed, wincing at the pain. On Earth, we have stories of parents lifting vehicles to save their children, of injured soldiers fighting through wounds that should have killed them, of ordinary people doing impossible things when everything they loved was threatened. She paused. We learned to control it because we had to, but the ability is always there. Waiting. Vorith was silent for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. I thought I was giving you a test you would fail. I thought I would prove that humans did not belong here. He shook his head slowly. Instead, you have shown me that we understand nothing about your species. Nothing at all. Does that scare you? Vorith considered the question. Yes, but it also gives me hope. Hope. The galaxy is dangerous. There are threats beyond these walls that would terrify even the strongest warriors. He moved toward the door. Perhaps having beings who can split a deck barehanded is exactly what we need. He paused at the threshold. Recover quickly, Cadet Okonkwo. The Academy has plans for you. Then he was gone. Tira returned a few minutes later, finding Nadia staring at the ceiling with an unreadable expression. What did he say? He said the Academy has plans for me. Nadia turned to look at her friend. I think things are about to change. Through the window, the 3 suns were setting. The light painted the medical bay in shades of gold and red. And somewhere in the academy, repair crews began a long process of fixing the training deck. They would patch the floor and replace the walls. But the cracks would remain hidden beneath the surface. A permanent reminder of what happened when a human stopped holding back. 6 months later, the academy was unrecognizable. The training deck had been rebuilt bigger and stronger than before. New programs had been introduced. New methods of instruction had replaced the old. And at the center of all these changes stood a human who had once been mocked for having the lowest scores in academy history. Graduation day arrived under clear skies and 3 bright suns. Cadets from a dozen species stood in formation on the ceremonial grounds. They wore dress uniforms appropriate to their worlds. They carried themselves with the pride of warriors who had survived the Academy's brutal training. And among them, smaller than everyone else, but standing just as straight, was Nadia Okonkwo. Tira stood beside her, all four arms clasped behind her back. The Solari had changed in the past 6 months. She moved with a new confidence. Her combat scores had risen to the highest of any Solari in her year. She had adopted human training methods, pushing her body past what her people thought possible. Nervous? Tira whispered. No, not yet, Iplaith. Are you? A little. They're going to call your name first. Everyone knows that. They're going to call both our names. We did this together. Commandant Vorath took the stage. He looked out over the assembled graduates with an expression that few had ever seen from him. Pride. Today we honor those who have completed their training. He began. You came to this academy as strangers from different worlds. You will leave as warriors, bound by shared struggle and shared purpose. He paused. This year has been different. This year, we learned lessons we did not expect to learn. He turned to look directly at Nadia. We learned that strength is not about size. It is not about armor or claws or natural weapons. Strength is about refusing to surrender, even when every logical calculation says you should. His voice carried across the silent crowd. We learned that the smallest body can contain the largest heart, and we learned that our assumptions about what makes a warrior were incomplete. The awards ceremony began. Combat honors went to Drakenoth warriors who had excelled in battle simulations. Tactical awards went to Solari strategists who had mastered complex scenarios. Leadership recognition went to cadets who had proven themselves capable of commanding others. When they reached Nadia's name, there was no combat honor to announce. Her scores, though improved, were still technically low by Academy standards. Instead, Vorath announced something new. For the first time in Academy history, we present the Unity Commendation. He held up a medal that gleamed in the sunlight. This award recognizes a cadet who has fundamentally changed how we understand warfare itself. A cadet who has taught us that true warriors protect not just with their strength, but with their hearts. He placed the medal around Nadia's neck. The crowd erupted in applause. Even former rivals, even cadets who had once laughed at her, clapped their hands and stomped their feet. Nadia accepted the honor with quiet dignity. She did not smile or wave. She simply nodded and returned to her place in formation. After the ceremony, Nadia was approached by a delegation of senior instructors. Doran led them, his scarred face showing rare warmth. The Academy has a request, he said. We want you to stay. Stay. As an instructor, we want you to teach others what you know. Human endurance, human psychology, the ability to push past physical limits through mental strength. Doran gestured at the ground around them. In 6 months, you have changed more about this academy than 50 years of tradition. Imagine what you could do with more time. Nadia considered the offer. She looked at the training deck in the distance, at the place where she had nearly died and had proven what humans could truly do. I will stay, she said, but I have one condition. Name it. Tira teaches with me. We work as partners. Dora nodded without hesitation. Done. That evening, Nadia stood alone on the training deck. The repairs were complete, but she knew exactly where the cracks had been. She could feel them beneath her feet like old scars. Footsteps approached behind her. She did not turn. You should be celebrating with the others, Tira said. I will. I just needed a moment. Tira came to stand beside her. They looked out at the arena together, remembering everything that had happened within these walls. Do you regret it? Tira asked. Coming here? Everything you went through. Nadia was quiet for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. If I had not come here, I would not have met you. I would not have learned what I am truly capable of. I would not have proven that humans have a place in this galaxy. She turned to her friend. Pain is temporary. What we build with it can last forever. A new voice interrupted them. Excuse me, are you Instructor Okonkwo? They turned to see a young Drakenoth female standing at the edge of the deck. She was smaller than most of her species, her scales a pale green that suggested youth. She looked nervous but determined. I am, Nadia said. Who are you? My name is Kethri. I am starting at the academy next month. The young Drakenoth straightened her spine. I asked specifically to be placed in your training group. Why? Because my brother was Grath. Kethri met Nadia's eyes without flinching. He was expelled because of you. He was humiliated. My family says I should hate you. She paused. But I watched the footage of your fight. All of it. And I realized something. What did you realize? That my brother was wrong. He thought being big made him strong. He thought having armor made him brave. You showed him that real strength comes from somewhere else. Kethri took a step forward. I want to learn from a human who taught my brother humility. I want to learn to be strong the way you are strong. Nadia studied the young Drakenoth for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Be here at dawn tomorrow. We start early. Kethri's face lit up. Thank you, instructor. I will not disappoint you. She hurried away, practically running in her excitement. Tira watched her go with an amused expression. She reminds me of someone. Who? Me. On the day, I realized you were more than everyone thought. Tira bumped Nadia's shoulder gently. The cycle continues. They walked together toward the celebration, leaving the training deck behind them. Near the entrance, workers were installing a small plaque on the wall. Nadia paused to read it that the Alconquo RD because humans taught us that the body fails only when the heart surrenders. She touched the words lightly with her fingertips. Then she smiled, the first real smile in months. Come on, she said to Tira. We have cadets to train tomorrow. They walked into the light of the setting suns, a human and a Solari, bonded by fire and friendship and the knowledge that the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The girl they had mocked had split the training deck barehanded, and now she would teach others to do the same.